anytime you go into the arena or the round pen or wherever you're going to work with your horse, even into the pasture just to feed our horses, there's a relationship between you and those horses. And it's important to remember that those horses, their nature is not going to change. They're herd animals. And so they look at the relationship between you and them as just another herd. So it could just be the two of you, or it could be you out there with several horses. Anytime that you're out there with them, they're only going to respond to you as if you are another horse. And that's the role that we have to take. And that's the thing that's important to remember, that every move that we make, they're going to respond to us as if we're another horse. Aaron has been out with Mustang herds before, and
in the wild.
In the wild, yeah, in the wild. So what was your experience there? What did you see how their herd structure interacts?
Well, we did research with a university on actually it was to follow prey habits of mountain lions and how that affected Mustang herds. So we observed different bands of Mustangs. So the first thing in a Mustang herd is there's a lead mare, and she kind of runs the whole herd. And then there's usually a band stallion. You'd like to say that he's a protector, but mostly all he cares about is breeding and making sure that that no other stallions get to his band.
Yeah.
They go where the mare wants to go, but she knows where the water's at, where the good feed is at, and when we're going to go. And if you're acting naughty, she's going to
reprimand.
And
that's what's important to remember, too. You know, we've talked about before that there's the need for that structure in that herd. When you are interacting with one horse, or whether you're interacting with 5 horses, they need that structure. It's part of their nature. They have to know where they fit in that pecking order. So when we go in and we talk about, when Aaron's working in the round pen, we talk about control, taking control of the situation. It's not about our ego, and it's not about us having to be in charge. It's a question that the horse is asking too. The horse has to know who's in charge in this situation, in this relationship. If you're in charge, then you call the shots. If I'm in charge, then I might have a really different idea of what we're going to do here. So the structure thing and taking control and taking the lead role, for one, is like I said, it's the horse that's asking the question. The horse needs to know the answer to that question. And also, if for no other reason, it's safe. You have a 1,000-pound animal that can move fast and can respond fast. And when a horse gets in trouble, sometimes the lead mare doesn't just push them to the outside of the herd. They bite each other, they kick each other, they strike at each other. Horses can be really aggressive with each other. So if you're on the wrong end of that leadership spectrum, if you're in the wrong position in that herd, and you sort of misbehave, or if the horse reads that what you're doing is misbehaving, that horse is going to come after you. And sometimes horses get blamed for being mean horses, and so many times they're not mean horses. They just don't respect your position in the herd, and they're going to respond to you accordingly. They're going to see you as another horse, and they're going to see that you are misbehaving in that herd, and they're going to respond.
You're not leading, so they're going to take the lead.
Right, exactly. So it's really important to understand that structure, that herd structure, and once you understand that, it makes so much more sense when you see your horse sort of misbehave or act out in a way. When you see them as the prey animals that they are, and you see that their need for that structure, need for that herd is so deep, then it makes so much more sense what's not working between you and your horse in that relationship.
Yeah, our own immediate herd, we have our lead mare is actually a gelding, and he's our lead mare, Canyon, and the reason why he's the leader is he's confident.
Yeah.
He doesn't have to throw bravado around to keep anybody in that herd in line at all.
He never has to prove himself.
Never.
And he's rarely ever the one who's the disciplinarian. What I find, it's why.
Yeah.
It's usually the second in command. It's
the beta.
Yeah.
Is Scout.
Yeah.
She's our black mare, and she's second. And she gets more mad about things, or not mad, but
yeah. She's like the disciplinarian.
Yeah. And then we have the most insecure horse, We say because he has tail envy because his tail is super short, but he is so he is so pissy. He's very low on the herd.
And he's the one who, any new horse that comes into the herd, he'll go after him to make sure that he's got somebody beneath him.
Yeah.
But he's absolutely the most insecure horse, which puts him on the bottom, which would tell you a lot about a bully on a playground.
Yeah.
Or the person who's loud, the loudest in the room and the most, macho
Bombastic.
or whatever. Yeah, bombastic, whatever. It tells you a lot about that personality because that's usually the most insecure person.
That's Hoosier. That's totally him.
Yeah, absolutely.
He at feeding time, the top horses will kind of fall in line who gets fed first, second, third, fourth, and everybody kind of knows their place and waits their place. And then if the horse is on the lower end, he always will challenge the horses on the lower end, and he always loses. But he will always charge them, and he'll always try to bite them and kick them off their feed stack. And
Right.
yeah, he's just really. And if we have another mare, she's really, really the very, very bottom. She will just go stand off in the corner and wait till everybody lines out, settles down, then she'll go and eat. But if she's in a pen by herself, she'll just kick and kick and kick at the
Right.
horse next to her
Yeah.
because it's a safe spot for her.
Yeah.
But if she's in the herd, she's like, I'm not doing anything.
Yeah, she stands way off to the side, doesn't want anything to do with anybody.
She will not challenge anything.
No, she won't challenge you. If we're feeding out there, she will stand way off to the side, and she won't challenge anybody for their food until she's allowed to come in.
Yeah.
Yeah.
But a lot of times we find out that she ends up eating with the alpha and the beta.
Yes.
They will let her eat with them.
Yeah.
Our lead mare and
Yeah.
lead gelding.
Yeah.
Because they're not insecure.
Right.
They don't
allow
have to.
it.
They allow it.
Mm-hmm.
And other horses will come and get mad at her because she's eating with them, and they'll get mad at them for that.
Right.
They'll push.
Or they'll see like just yesterday we were watching Canyon. Our lead horse was upset with another horse who was sort of pushing other horses around, so he pushed that horse away and he let the others come eat with him. It was a really interesting structure, and when you pay attention to what their structure is, it makes so much more sense, and you start to really understand how important it is in your relationship, how important it is, and why it's important that you take that leadership role and that you're calling those shots, because it almost makes the horse more secure. When the horse knows their position, they're good. Even if they're beneath you, they're okay. They're okay with that. It just they feel safe.
Yeah.
And as long as there's structure in that herd, it's like a sort of that society. If there's no laws or no rules, if there's no police, there's nobody holding down the fort, then anybody could do anything. Well, nobody feels safe in that kind of a structure. But in a herd environment, when there's rules and people understand where they are, then everybody almost feels safer because they know those boundaries and they know their part, they know what their position, they know their job. Yeah, it's really interesting to watch.
Well, that's what we found that was interesting with me. I know this. I've studied this. I have a degree in this.
Yep.
But the fact that I've been dealing with this anxiety for 10, 11 years, that I've just been on the defensive. I've just been reading the cues, waiting for the charge or the bite or the spin or the flee. Uh-huh. That I haven't been offensive to putting myself as a leader in my own 2-horse herd that includes me a lot of the time. So I think that's where I really, really let the horse down in my relationship with my horses. And they're still forgiving. I mean, they still...
Oh, so forgiving. It's amazing what they're willing to put up with.
Yeah.
It really is amazing.
I still can get away with it, but that hasn't done me any service. That really has not made me a leader in my herd.
Yeah. And that's what we're talking about today too, is your knowledge base, your understanding of what horses do will absolutely work for you, because you kind of know what to prepare for. You were just watching out for it.
Yeah.
You weren't preparing and thinking ahead and thinking, okay, this can happen, so I'm going to do this to sort of keep that from happening. You were just sort of waiting for it and
Yeah.
and
Preparing
ready,
how I'm
just
going to
ready run.
react.
Yeah.
And that's what we were talking about with the saint, like reacting instead of responding. And
Right.
that's how I've been for so long. I'm just waiting to react. I'm just like white knuckling it through this
Yeah.
all the time.
Mhm.
That I'm not responding.
Right.
Well, like I can fake my way most of the time. Like I feed all the time
Yep.
in the mornings. I go out in the herd. That's my hay until I throw it on the ground. But it's terrifying sometimes, especially you can go in a big herd
Right.
to feed horses and
Yeah, and they start ricocheting and bouncing around you, and
it's not the ones at the top of the herd that I worry about because they're like, all right, she's
Yeah,
gonna,
they're
and
cool.
I'm gonna get fed first and whatever. It's the ones that are more insecure and they're vying for position because it's always like a chess game, flip flop sometimes in position, but they're always competing for that.
Yep.
Sometimes I don't give a ding dang if you're out there with a wheelbarrow.
if you get in the way or not. I mean, now you can go out there and understand nobody's getting anything until everybody's where I want them. I mean, you could almost even
I
put them on the ropes. I mean, you could.
I could do
You can
that.
almost do that. You don't.
I don't do.
But you could. I mean, really, that
Do you do that?
yeah, I do. I do.
I-
You don't believe me?
well, maybe I should come on to.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I don't worry about them, but I mean, I have that game, My Herd,
Yeah.
that I play with them all the time. And it's like, it's making sure, especially when we put a new horse in the herd,
Right.
when we introduce a new horse, I make sure that they are all facing up to me, all of them.
Yeah.
I make sure that they all understand my position. So when I walk through there, I'm not really concerned because I feel like I am the lead horse, and they're going to respect my position. If they want to get after each other, they can, but they're not going to run into me
Yeah.
because they know what my position
Right.
is. That's how I feel about it. So I don't really ever worry about it.
So they don't come and eat until you're got everything
Like they don't eat the
laid
hay off
out.
the ground.
Yeah.
I should do that. That would be fun. I know I let them eat when I'm throwing
Oh.
hay, but they stay out of my way.
Right.
I should do that. That might be a fun experiment.
I will do that.
Yeah, just to keep them all away until I say it's okay to eat.
Right. And it's healthy. I
I'm
mean,
trying to
every
figure that out.
every single one of our horses you can catch in like a heartbeat.
You
In
should never
40
have an issue
acres,
being
they're
caught.
they will be caught. They will not. We don't chase any horse because Dave does My Herd. And if someone wants to challenge that, it doesn't take them too long to figure out this
no.
is not a good idea.
They
And this
remember.
is really not a good idea.
They remember.
Yeah.
They remember how they absolutely remember that. And then and it was a really great therapist friend of ours years ago told us to think about it more like medications. When you respond to a medication, that means it's working. And when you react to a medication, that means it's giving you a rash.
Yeah.
so you want to respond.
Or worse.
Yeah, or worse. So you want to respond rather than react.
Right.
And the response can come before there's any sort of an emotional response from a horse or whatever. I mean, you can respond to a situation before it even happens, but your reacting can only ever come afterwards.
Oh, that's a good one.
Just came to me. Just hit me.
Yeah, that's true though.
Yeah.
That's I'm reacting to what they might do.
Right. Yeah. So you're planning ahead for your reaction.
Yeah.
Rather than responding to what you think
Right.
can actually take place, and then taking control of the situation from there.
That's right.
Yeah. Good. Happy Friday.
Happy Friday.